welcome Mandla. Welcome to our webinar. Mandla, can you just to start things off, just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, how you got into football, and how you got to working for Sundowns.
Oh, firstly, let me start by greeting everyone. I say good morning to all the coaches and good morning to you, Sean and Casey. So 2020 was not an easy year. So that is why I took off my mask currently. And I'm from the hotspot, which is PE, where COSAFA is happening currently. So I was there with the under 17 just to check on the talent that will close this current year. So by so saying, thank you very much. Without wasting any time, let's get down to business. My name is Mandla Mazibuko, and I was born at Orlando East, near Orlando Stadium. Probably that's where I got the influence of football. Growing up, next to the stadium, you see those movements and the activities that are there at the stadium. Probably one way or another, they influence me to take that direction. But apart from that, a talent, a God-given talent also contributed a great deal that I must know where I'm heading to. So I started playing football at the early age. And then I won't say at 6 years old because it's not accurate. I just say early age because now, once you're being specific, you need to have facts in that. So I hear most of the players, they say, I started at 4, I started at 6, whatever, and you can't remember from that age. So now, as I grew up, I played for different clubs at Orlando. I played for Orlando Preston Brothers, Orlando Highlanders, and then those were the amateur side. And then growing up, obviously you improve in your skills. And then that's when I was unfortunate but fortunate. Why I'm saying that? Because when I was about to break it to the senior level or the elite league, because I had something like 4 clubs that were gunning for my services. And then I was involved in a serious car accident whereby it was a head-on collision with a Patco bus. And fortunately, I never became unconscious. I saw everything that happened because I was the driver of the car. And then I tried everything to run away from the bus, but unfortunately, I couldn't. And then up until it collided, and I was trapped between the bus and the car. So my first words were that, thanks God that I survived. So now, God, please help me. Where to from here? So after they took me to the hospital and I was admitted, and I stayed there for 3 months, something like 3 months. And then I started, they did all the operation, putting all the pins and the likes. And after 4 years, I had to take out those pins from my legs because the legs were affected. So I just decided when I was at the hospital that no, after healing here, I'm going to become a coach. And what type of a coach I want to be? 1, it was a learned coach. 2, it must be a coach that is willing to learn so that I'm able to understand a player when he performs or he executes his game. So I wanted to be that type of a coach. And indeed, when I healed And then I started attending the coaching courses now, straight to coaching courses. And fortunately, things shaped up the way I prayed for and planned for. And then I was so fortunate to meet even the great coaches whilst I'm a young coach, upcoming coach at the early age, you know. So that alone carried me, and it took me a while to say, hey, I don't believe that I'm meeting these great coaches, you know, like the Clive Parkers of this world, yeah, the Gordon Eggerson, you know, all those Trottim Lottos, the Trottim Lotto. And currently I'm working with him. And so those were the good times that I could see a light at the end of the tunnel, because now more opportunities were just availing themselves. So as they were availing themselves, I said, no, let me just pull up. Let me learn more and more from these guys with the engagements, you know, the Kenyan dances. So those are the experienced coaches in this game of football. As I grew up and I've learned from them, I was so keen to learn more and gain more and more experience. I attended the games, all the matches. You know, I never had like a, a soft spot for a team that is not playing good football. So I was fond, and I used to say to myself, I love watching good football. I love watching good football. So good football, how does it come? So those were questions that I used to ask myself. Good football, where will I find good football? So obviously by learning, you say, no, I must get, that's when I answered myself that I must get players that can execute. So I must learn more about the South African player now. South African player, and as you know that our country has got a diversity culturally. Cultural diversity is there. And then obviously I said to myself, hey, but how can I get to know a player that is in KZN as compared to a player that is in Cape Town? So it was an exciting engagement as an individual that I invited myself in. So that is why I say I just wanted to become a knowledgeable coach, a coach that will understand what kind or what type of a player that South Africa has. And I must specialize in bringing or in identifying those type of players, you know. And then it went on, learning and then taking courses and then gaining experience at the same time, watching more games. And I enjoy watching live games. So indeed, it happened that there was this advert that there will be a new school that is formed. It's a school of excellence. It's a new program. And again, apart from that, I used to engage with the workshops. Whenever there's a workshop with the coaches, I will go there. So the guy who used to run the workshops, may his soul rest in peace, was Ted Dumitru. So I got more influence from him as well in terms of how to train players. And then his workshops were more basically of specific players, especially in the environment that you are in. So I was so keen, and then I said, no, let me grab more in terms of learning, whilst I don't suppress the creativity part, because that's where you're going to deal with, you know, the players from South Africa. I've learned and I've experienced that they are more creative. We are so blessed to have such a talent. So when you look at all the players in South Africa and then considering the cultural diversity, you say to yourself, hey, now let me apply for this new school that program is going to come in place. I applied. Fortunately, I made it because I was even scared whenever I was called for interview. I was scared in terms of what the characters, the high profile coaches that I met during the interview. They were also coming for the interview. So that alone, I said, no, I'm not going to give in. You know, if I make it under these circumstances, so it will be a success of my life in my career. So we went on. It took something like 6 months before I get the results. And by then, I was forgetting about the results as well. In any case, I told myself that I mustn't go and market for work. You know, people must realize what is it that you can do as an individual, and then you must be headhunted. So that was my belief. And then school-wise, after matric, I had to learn this architecture because I didn't need, you know, something like who's going to tell me what to do, and I know how to push myself. So I started drawing plans, designing the plans for the houses now. So whilst I'm doing coaching on the other side, so in the evening I'll sit down on my desk and then start drawing and then designing the houses. And that alone, it needs more of creativity as well. And then to your school work that you have learned from school. So it went well. And then when I got the results that hey, I made it to be one of the coaches at the School of Excellence. That was in 1992. No, 1993. To work with knowledgeable coaches such as Sam Bata, Kevin Johnson, and then Farouk Khan, and then together with Ted by then. And then it was myself. Then we started the school, and then we had 60 boys, you know, talented. We had to bring those boys, talented boys. We took them from our satellites. Transnet at their satellite is being sponsored by Transnet. And then that alone was a merely experience and knowledge that I will always cherish in my life. You know why I'm saying that? Taking a boy from a street and then you realize that he's got potential. And then you needed to build on that potential. So how will you build on that potential? So you bring that boy and then you put them under one roof because it was a boarding school at the School of Excellence. One roof, and then with these different players with their different gifts, different potential, different talent. And then we started grooming them. So, you know, the first thing that came to my mind whenever I started working there, because it was a full-time job, whereby we train in the morning and afternoon. In the morning, we will work on the technical aspect only. Nothing intensive. It's more of volume. I believe the coaches will understand whenever I talk volume intensity. So it's more of volume, whereby each and every boy, each and every player, he's got his own soccer ball, whereby he must learn how to dribble. You as a coach, you must be more creative because you are dealing with creative players. So now, whenever you're controlling the ball, you need to show, you just clap and say, let's change to this. You demonstrate that. And in most cases, what I've learned is that you need to keep motivating them. Tell them the truth. If they're doing wrong, don't just hide. So say it that, hey, let's correct this. I can see so and so and so and so. And you must be observant as well. That who is cheating, who is not cheating. And that alone, again, it goes with your love, your passion for the game. What is it that you want to achieve out of this program, And then when they improve in their skills, because we needed them to dominate the object, which is a soccer ball. They must dominate it. So whenever you talk juggling, they must be able to juggle. They must be well balanced. You check the balancing physically. So you check all the aspects of the game, which is your physical aspect, and then your technical aspect, and then your tactical aspect, and then psychosocial aspect. And then remember, these boys were not coming from Soweto only. Like I spoken initially about cultural diversity. So we had boys from KZN now. So in my plan that I've been, like planning to do that, I must understand as South African player. So it came to place to say, this is what I was looking for. I understand. In terms of players, we had players from Cape Town as well. And then we brought them in. Talented players from Eastern Cape, players from Northern Cape, all the provinces. That's when you said to yourself, yeah, no, what I was looking for is coming to place. Then I was so content and satisfied. And then that's when the passion came out. The passion, the love, and the ability to say, no, let me do the best out of this. I've been looking for this, I've been looking for this. Because now even there are things that are not being covered in the coaching course. The things that you are going to develop practically when you are faced with a situation of a skillful player, So you create those situations, and they must be game related, so that whenever they express themselves as individual players, they must be sound technically, they must be sound tactically, they must be sound. So I'm talking about the end product now. So whenever I say they must be sound, they must be able to read the situation, they must have the knowledge of the game. So from Dusty Street, when you look at these youngsters, you say, oh, this one, you just check the ability of controlling the ball. Say, oh, he can control. Obviously, they are all one-footed. Wherever you go, there's a strong leg and a weaker foot, strong foot and a weaker foot. Whereby whenever you bring him to the program, you must develop those weaknesses. Like, for instance, the weaker foot. Coaches, you must develop a well-balanced player who can juggle using both legs, who can control the ball using both legs. That alone will help the IQ and the coordination of the body and the brain. That no, after reading the situation, I'm going to take this one on, and then I'll be faced with a goalkeeper, and then I'll be able to place the ball where I want it. It's either far post or near post, depending on the situation, or it needs me to chip the ball. So all those things, the player, whenever is mastering it, he will fit into any coach's philosophy. So that's the advantage. Those are the experiences that I went through, like with joy, with embracement, with a love, to say, hey, I'm going to produce a brilliant player. I'm going to produce a brilliant player after so many years working with that player. You must be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Where is this player going to land? You even fast forward. By then, we used to have the cassettes. You fast forward the cassette of his life that, hey, where is he going to end up? Okay. So now the important thing after identifying the player, you need to profile him. Profile him in terms of his body structure. Is he growing tall or what? Those are the key points that you need to know as a development coach. You profile and then you create a data, whereby that data will help you to do what? To keep on monitoring now. Keep on monitoring that particular player. And after profiling, that's when, in monitoring, that's when you see whether he improves or he doesn't improve. What might be the problem if he doesn't improve? So be patient, coaches, whenever you undergo the development stage, because it needs more patience, more patience, more patience. And don't give up. You must understand that there are those players that are slow learners. Take it into consideration. You need to pick it up from the onset. And then you must know that there are those players that, learn quickly and they improve quickly. And then you must structure your training session in such a manner that you take all the common weaknesses and then you work on them. And then you take all the common strengths, you encourage them whilst you are perfecting them and improving all the weaknesses. And then the School of Excellence helped me the most that on daily basis, that's when you monitor the progress of the individual, often on the field. So that alone, to me, it became my second nature. That is why, Sean and Casey, you always saw me in the tournaments, schools tournaments, that I need to improve, whatever I see. So let me just afford that opportunity to that youngster. And thanks that after 19 years I spent at the School of Excellence, and the Mamelodi Sundowns, I was headhunted from Mamelodi Sundowns. And then I happened to join Mamelodi Sundowns. And then joining the Mamelodi Sundowns, I must say I've learned so many things now, because now, by then, I was saying to myself, no, now I've outgrown the school. And it was like somebody was listening to me and I was not telling anyone. And I got on the next day, after deciding that, hey, I've outgrown the school, I must move on now. I must challenge myself to the clubs. But now, what type of a club that I must join? Which club? So those were the questions I was asking myself. And guess what happened? Just on the next day, I got a call from Mamelodi Sundowns. I was in the national camp under 17. I explained that I'm still in the camp, but after the camp, I'll come and have discussion with them. Under 17, I was an assistant coach in the under 17, working with Coach Soli Luvengo. And then after that, we said that appointment, and then there was another call again on the very same day, like after an hour from Bloemfontein now. Bloemfontein Celtics, I said, yes, I'm still in the camp, and then let's set the date. And then it was just like that. And then after the camp, I went to those appointments, and the rest is history that I ended up taking the Mamelodi Sundowns. Again, with Mamelodi Sundowns, it was more of it's nearer. I don't have to relocate because now I spend most of my time traveling out of the country with the School of Excellence and coming back, playing the tournament, participating in the tournaments. And I never happened to just to concentrate, like in terms of having a family of your own now. But I bought the house, but I'm not staying there. Always I'm out, always I'm out. So I said, this one of relocating, it will disturb me. So I need to be nearer now, closer, so that I can be able to build a family now, because I'm growing as well, you understand? And then, but without quitting the game. The game was my first love, to be honest, the game of football. And then after that, I went to Sundowns and worked there. Started being an assistant coach of the under 17, working with Coach Godfrey Sapula. And we achieved, as an academy, we achieved. And I must say, that was the wow opportunity to say now, things are shaping up. I've got now the experience and the knowledge of working at the school level. Now I'm working for the club now. And then that's where now the club, what I've realized, the club is dealing with specifics. The type of a player, a specific type of a player that you must look for. So there at the school, you were just taking the boys that are talented, are gifted, and then groom them. You groom them and you mentor them. And then they happen to play abroad and locally in the elite league. Right now, I must say, I'm proud to say that even the ones that never attained their elite positions to play, in the highest, but they are somewhere in the businesses, because now we used to strike a balance between education and football. Sports and education, they go hand in hand. So once you happen to strike that that balance between the two, you'll be able to help these boys that even if he doesn't make it in football, he will make it, off the field. Like I said, architecturally, even if I can quit football, I can go and then sit on my desk, So at least you'll be covered, because soccer is a short career. Short career in which way, if you are not learned as a player, obviously you'll be doomed. So it's important that coaches, you must emphasize that they must also go to school. Make a point sure that, yes, this love that they have for the game, you need to do what now? To make a point sure that even school is important as much as they love the game. So you need to strike that balance and be fair in these boys. Tell them the truth, be honest with them, and don't be biased, because once you're biased, they're so observant, they can pick it up that, oh, so and so is in good books with the coach. And then now they start shelving now. And then you won't get, whenever you train them, you won't get whatever you're supposed to get now. So their output and your input, there will be a clash now. There will be a clash because now you are now biased. You adventure to that. So treat them as your children. Treat them as your children so that you are able to teach them. You are able to improve their weaknesses. So you must be worried as a coach if a player doesn't improve. Don't chase him away because now easy solution will be, let me chase him away. Then at least I've got a squad that can listen to me. So that is a misinterpretation now. So this one is a slow learner. Have time for him. Try to get to know where he lives. Obviously, it's important that whenever you recruit a player to your program or to your structure, make a point sure you know where he comes from, who are his parents, whether he's a single parent or both parents are there, whether he lives with the grandmother or the auntie or whatever. So you need to have, whenever I talk about profiling, you need to have that information. Once you bring him to your structure, you must know exactly where to start training this boy, because some of them, especially most of them that are coming from rural and poor background, they are so sensitive. They are so sensitive in so much that whenever you raise a voice being a coach, that's when he shelves. He's in a new environment, don't forget. You brought him in here from probably Northern Cape or from down in Limpopo, Linyenye, Toyando. So you brought him here in Gauteng, and then it's a different environment altogether. So now be patient with such a character. Because now what you saw on the first day, you mustn't take it out. Instead, build on it as a coach. Build on it. So he engages you whenever you first saw him. He engaged you at, hey, look at me, without telling you. So the performance itself was saying, look at me. That is why I used to like these tournaments as well, like your Danone. I like those tournaments. Your Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, K-Motsipe tournament. So they to yourself, provincial side, and then from provincial side is now in the national team. And then now that's when you won't believe the fulfillment that you are going to get as a coach. The manner in which you contributed to that particular individual. That's when you're going to say, yeah, no, thanks God, I made it. Irrespective of, monies or whatever, no. So just that fulfillment. Yeah, sorry?
Yes. Mandla, I just want to come in here quickly and just ask you, at Sundowns, are you purely a scout or do you scout and coach at the same time?
At Sundowns, it's a professional setup. I love it and I embraced it at Sundowns because now, after coaching, after realizing that, hey, Coach Mandla is able to go and identify. That's when I was afforded that opportunity, given the assignments, to say, hey, go and check there. That alone, I just fitted in like a hand in a glove. And that's what I enjoyed most, traveling, identifying. So now it happened that I was no longer attached to a particular team now, age group, like I spoken about the under 17. Then I had to do what now? To round up, because we've got satellites, hence I'm saying it's a professional structural setup. So we have our satellites, whereby I visit the satellites, our satellites, because they are spread up. We've got one in Pretoria, one in Soweto, one in Northwest, and then one in Soshanguve. We have one in Mabupane, etc. So now, what we normally do, you go and visit those satellites. Visiting the satellites, I become one of the coaches. Why? Because I belong to the academy there at Sundowns. So whenever you come, you are assisting the coaches. You show them what is it and how are the training sessions being done, so that whenever you leave him with those group of boys, he knows exactly what to do. And then whenever you come, let's say after 3 weeks, you check the individuals, and then you assess, and then it's then that you suggest as well. You don't impose yourself. You suggest to the coach, let me run this session because these boys are at such a level now, so we can just progress to this level. You understand? So we progress, there's that progression, because the satellites are the foundation phase. The foundation phase for the players that will be recruited to the academy with a philosophy of the Mamelodi Sundowns. So that alone.
That sounds absolutely enormous. It sounds like a huge engine that Mamelodi Sundowns is doing. How many kids and what age do they start? What age do they start? And roughly how many kids have you got in total in all the satellites?
Oh, yeah, it's a huge number. Let me explain why the satellite. Satellite first, it's able to accommodate the ones that can afford to reach Pretoria. Like I said, in Soweto we have one, and then in Soshanguve we have one, in Mamelodi we have one. So they are walking, like after school they go back to their home, change, and then they walk to the fields, So that alone is being, economically, at least it's being addressed, that they must walk there and they will get the specialized coaching there. So that alone, it covers, because our satellites, we've got the under 11s and under 13s only. Under 11s and under 13s. So obviously all the satellites, they are operating, in those age groups, under 11 and under 13. So now it depends, they vary in number. It depends on the location where you are situated. So obviously you will be able to identify other boys that are not even in the satellite, and then you just direct them to satellites so that they're able. Yeah.
So is that where the tournaments such as the Denominations Cup comes in? Because that fits exactly between that ages, yes. Age 11 and age 13. So 13. You bring them the kids in and you put them into the satellites.
Yes, and then others, like I said, they don't. These players, they don't improve the same. Others, you may find that you'll be wasting his time taking him to there, and then you just you just call them for further assessment with the academy. Further assessment, you assess them. How far are they with their level of performance? Can they fit into the academy? That is why some of the boys that I got from Coca-Cola, they're still in the program. And then the boys that are younger, that's when I monitor them. And then I send them to the satellites. The ones that are let's say Mamelodi, you send them to Mamelodi satellites. Soshanguve, you send them to Soshanguve. That is why it's important you keep rotating and then checking and monitoring those satellites. So that has bear fruit because there are players that have been promoted now, whom they started there at the satellite. They are now with the first team, which gives us a pleasure at Sundowns that day. It's working, the program is working. So now I just thank the president that he afforded us the opportunity of moving around. You know, we've got the scouting department that is working tirelessly, tirelessly identifying these players and then bring them to the club. Because now, whenever you deal with a club, you need specific players. If you talk a goalkeeper, you talk a specific goalkeeper who can play from the feet, from the back, initiate the moves, who can distribute whenever there's an opportunity up front accurately. He must find that player. So those are the attributes that you are looking at, specific attributes. Whenever you're looking for a right back, the Mamelodi Sundowns need a right back that can overlap and deliver crosses and then recover without any stress. So those are the attributes that you are looking for. Every specific position has got its own requirements. So whenever you go out and then scout for the player, you don't just take for take because you're going to frustrate that player. It's a duplicate. You're bringing a duplicate. So you need to check what is it that you have at home and then bring the one that you don't have. You know, when you look at the attributes of that particular youngster, you just say, oh, I've got so and so at home, so and so. And this one is a younger version of so and so. So you just identify and then keep him in your database and then monitor him so that whenever the right time comes, because you'll be monitoring him, visiting him, check him whenever he performs. And then when the right time comes, that's when you bring him to the academy.
I remember.
Sorry, Cassie, sorry. Can I ask some questions? Sorry, about the technical side of the game. The first part is that when you're identifying players, if you're trying to identify a 12-year-old and you're trying to identify a 15-year-old, aren't you looking for different things? Because like the 12-year-old will be more skills-based because they haven't learned about the knowledge of reading the game and understanding the game. But a 15-year-old, they should already have the skills part of it. And then you're actually looking at how they actually read the game and how they play in the game. How do you differentiate your scouting between the different age groups?
Yes. One, you look at his attributes. Can he control the ball? Yes. Can he pass the ball? Yes. You understand? Those are the attributes. What is it that he do when he loses the ball? Can he track back? Yes. So there's no coaching. Remember, there's no coaching there. You are just looking at the individual performance. Okay. Can he shoot, take a shot at goal? Yes. And then can he play with his teammates? Yes. So once he ticks all those boxes, you start following up now. Say, oh, I can build on this one. You understand? Because he has these attributes and you're quite correct, Sean, when you say they know nothing about, So that's when now you make a follow-up. That's why I talk about the follow-ups. You follow up, you monitor that whatever you saw before, it must develop. It must develop. And you normally engage the coach as well when you are monitoring. That day, I saw this boy on such a place, and he was like this and that, and I can see he has improved a little bit, or he hasn't improved. So now to speed up his improvement, and then you start now discussing with the coach how best can he run his session so that he is helping the individual player to improve. So those are the advantages when you are a scout. You must have a knowledge background of being a coach, because now you can be able to identify a young boy, and then you will be able to structure his training sessions, training program that he must undergo. So that's the advantage that I have as an individual, because now I can identify a player, and then I can easily give the recommendations of how to develop, how to train him. You understand? So that's the advantage that I must say I've experienced from way back as I was doing coaching courses and working at the School of Excellence, and then dealing with a player full time, because the way he grows, there are behavioral changes in that particular individual. And then as he's growing, there are behavioral changes as well. So you need to identify those things, and you must be able to deal with them. Don't get angry with the boy, And then those changes, you need to take them into consideration whenever you train those boys. You must know that Mandla now is in a certain stage of development. He's in a puberty stage of development. So I mustn't just hammer him, or I mustn't just because you consider even the cultural diversity. Where does he come from? You understand? So you put all those things in place. So I mustn't just damage this talent in terms of hammering. It's so important that we as coaches, during the week, let's do our work, let's do our homework in terms of training, providing quality training to these boys that will help them, that will grow them. As they are growing, you don't have to put intensive work to a 12-year player. You understand? You must just have fun of the game. Fun all the way. So you must be creative in your training session, that you stimulate their minds, because they are creative. You don't repeat what you have done yesterday to them, because now you don't stimulate the brain. Now the boy will be stagnant, especially those creative ones. And then whenever you keep on repeating, repetition, I'm not saying it's bad. Repetition is good whenever you're developing, but change your exercises as coaches. Be creative. Whenever you're dealing with passing exercise for a month, you are not going to do the same drill every day for passing. No. You've got how many days in a month? So you're living with these innocent souls whom you have identified and say these are the ones that are future of the country and the clubs as well. So now your passing exercise, it must always, like today, if I'm using passing, they do the passing with the outside part of the foot, using both legs, left and right. being partners. I'm just making an example because I must say I will do even the slides in the next coming the next year. If ever you're still going, you guys are doing a great job in having this. Like having the graphs to show that if we talk passing, these are the type of passing. You've got the heel pass, outside part of the foot, inside part of the foot, the volley pass, whatever pass. So with repetition now. So if today I'm dealing with the heel pass, I must be able to see it whenever in the main part of the game. During the warm-up phase, that's when you're going to encourage that. That call somebody and then you exchange with the balls, exchange with the ball. Those are creative exercises and will work on the vision of the individual player and will work even in the mind. You are stimulating. When I call your name, you just turn and then deliver a pass and then we exchange. You understand? And then controlling the ball, move to a free space. And then imagine there's someone coming towards you, beat that particular somebody. So you become more creative in your exercises so that you always stimulate and then you stimulate the creativity in them. So the don'ts part, I will urge the coaches that at the early age, move away from the don'ts. Don't do that. Don't do that. Do the don't. Because now during the game, you will play, you will want to play for them. I say, you must pass that ball. Once the situation doesn't allow, the situation says to him as an individual, let me get rid of this man here. Let me isolate this defender. And then I'll be able to find my striker according to the given situation. Because the situations, they always prevail themselves. So you must have the players that can read that and say, I'm taking a first time shot here because the keeper is away from his goal line. You understand? The keeper is away, is somewhere. And then, so those are the things you need to identify as a coach. You encourage them. So that is why I'm talking about the don'ts. That once you start implementing the don'ts, that's when you close up the creative mind. The creative mind shelves now. And then the boy starts not to enjoy your sessions. He will drag your feet. Your sessions must encourage them that even in a stormy weather, they must keep on nagging you. Coach, what time are we training today? Whilst there's a storm outside. Coach, what time are we training? Whilst there's a snow outside. Coach, what time are we training? Whilst it's rainy. So your session, you must be able to make them miss your training sessions, miss the knowledge that you deliver to them. So I wonder if is yes.
Okay, so first thing is that on your what you were saying about repetition, they often say that you've got to spend time in making sure that when they repeat the exercise, they do it properly, because if they're repeating a mistake, they become perfect at that mistake. So, just a little comment on that. But the second thing is that, a lot of coaches that you deal with, and I've seen it at certain tournaments, that you go up and you talk to coaches and they haven't got a basic level of understanding of coaching. So now you've identified a player, you've spoken to the coach about their play, and you want updates and feedback from that player, and there's no center of excellence from Sundowns close by or something like that. How do we deal with this, or what's the basic idea to actually upskill these coaches, so when you do speak to them and say, listen, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z from a player, that they are capable enough to actually perform that and actually do those coaching sessions with that player?
Yes, thanks for asking that, Sean. Firstly, I will encourage the coaches to attend the SAFA coaching courses, because now, one, it will give them the knowledge and the know-how how to set up their training sessions. So it's important that they get to SAFA and then start at level D course, level D. It's now level D. And then after that, they go and then implement without forgetting their creativity. Yes, the knowledge is there, but they must be creative as well, that hey, this exercise, I can turn it this way, so that it suits the type of boys that you have currently on that time, so that it will be able to enhance and improve their weaknesses as well, once you are addressing their weaknesses. So it's important that the coaches must attend to the coaching courses, but they mustn't forget they are creative, because they're going to work with creative players out there. So once they do that, I think it will be able to enhance their coaching abilities, because now there will be that confidence of saying, I can run a training session, without doing a damage, So that tuition, it's important. They must have that tuition. I'm talking about the coaches. And then let us not be lazy, coaches. Understand the type of players you are dealing with. You are dealing with the type of players. What are their needs? What are their needs? So I'm talking about their weaknesses now. So you'll be able to create the exercises that will enhance and help them develop and then move to the next level. I wonder if I've answered you, Sean.
You have. The only tough part with the SAFA level D is that I think it costs 1,500 Rand. So for a lot of our and there are very few of them that are around. I know Ricardo Katza said that he actually organized for SAFA and he organized a venue for them to do it in Bloemfontein. But some of the more rural areas, they really battle to get somebody around, and they really battle to pay for the 1,500 Rand for level D.
Yes.
So I think they need to somehow try and upskill themselves. Do some research, go to the local library and read up or something like that to improve their quality of coaching.
Yes, it's true. It's true, Sean, what you are saying. And then, fortunately, with us, our situation is such that if you need to do or upgrade yourself, obviously you talk to the club and then they pay your fees. So that's the advantage with us. And then coming to the coaches out there that don't have the opportunity that one has, I will just encourage them to start partnering and negotiating with the doctors around their environment. That's number one, my suggestion. Because when I was down at the location starting my coaching, implementing my coaching knowledge, I started by partnering with a certain doctor, Dr. Muchwadi, down in Soweto in Pimville. And then I explained the vision that I need to help these young boys, and there's nothing here in the township. You know what that doctor did? In a form of giving back to the community, he decided to say, no, coach, whatever needs for the club that you have established there, come and talk to me, and then whatever needs, let's talk about them. So he started by buying the soccer balls. And mind you, it's an environment that is in need. And then he started to say, no, whatever you need. And then I said, man, whenever I train, there's a certain boy that at times he can't breathe during, and I could identify that, hey man, he's struggling. And then when I went to his place, the parents told me that the boy he's asthmatic. You understand? So now doctor said, no, I can come in handy there. So bring that boy here. We understand. So such relationships, they do build up, and then you happen to find yourself in a space of operational with the needs of the game itself, whilst you don't have anything. So now I will encourage the coaches to look around. It can be a businessman around, and there's extra cash that he can spend. You know, you don't want much, but you just become realistic and then explain. You just explain your environment and your needs as well. And don't be shy to do that. And then you'll be surprised the way the response will be. So that is why I was a little bit disappointed whenever the sponsors are pulling out of, you know, the tournaments. That I wonder what's going to happen with the talent. But now it's said to me, under the circumstances, what can you do? Under the given circumstances, what can you do? You know, to better these individual players that are still coming up. So that alone, it boils down again to us as coaches that under the circumstances, okay, I will create a tournament between the zones. You know, the zones. You encourage your local, your LFA, you propose that, you know, these neighboring zones, like I've seen in cricket, Sia made a good presentation that the manner in which they, okay, with me, it will be the zones. The zones, let the zones have the clubs that belongs to the zones, and then they let them have a league, a mini league there. And then they compete amongst themselves. And then after that, it will grow to become now a regional. So you get a regional team out of those zonal leagues. You identify boys that are improving, you know, different age groups. And then that's when now after regional, and then it becomes provincial, nationals. So that's how I can suggest that coaches out there, please don't sit down and say, hey, we can't do this, I don't have this and that and that and that. So let us be more creative in terms of analyzing how is the situation in your environment, and then how best can you come in as a coach now. So that alone doesn't need a coaching course. No. It needs you to become more creative and then start engaging. And then let us move away from our personal gains. Because now we find that the approach to whom the businessman or to whoever you have spotted that can help you, you may find that your approach, he can easily detect that this one, he wants to gain for himself. You understand? And then he turns you down. He turns you down. So you must be open-minded and then put these kids or these players forward. And then after putting them forward is then that you can say, okay, now I'm putting them forward. Now I've got this training equipment that is going to help me to enhance their abilities and talent, God-given talent. And then you work on that. You forget about what is it that am I going to gain as a person. You gain the knowledge by working with those boys. They are giving you a knowledge that no one will take it away from you. For the mere fact that you can now talk and go and knock at the doors for help or sponsorship to help this boy, that alone is a knowledge on its own, of which we don't take a note of that, we as coaches. So let us be more creative, innovative, and then move around and then assess the situation that you happen to find yourself in, and then better that environment. Because you can start from nowhere, and then you will be surprised 2 months later how there are activities now. You are moving somewhere. So that alone, it becomes a fulfillment more than the personal amount of money that you'll be looking for before you even start. So I will encourage the coaches to have patience, have a good manner of approach in whoever you are engaging, so that you are able to help these youngsters. And you may find that even that businessman will say, hey, coach, I can see you're doing a great job. I've heard there's a course somewhere. Just go for it and then I will pay for you. You understand? You are also developing now. You are also you are benefiting, because now I must say, God is not as stupid whenever he puts you in a certain environment. So you will survive in that environment by merely assessing, and then you say, no, these are the needs of this. And then you start working on that. And then you find that things are moving because God always provides. Guys, I need more questions.
Sorry.
Thank
you so much, Mandla.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Mandla. I think we've gone way past our time slot. But thank you so much.
Okay.
I think we definitely
I want to
need
ask you one.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you one quickly.
Yes, I'm listening.
Yes, Casey?
I'm listening, Casey.
And that question is, there's been no soccer this year. There's been no soccer this year. How have you managed during how's this affected you as a scout? Sorry, can't you hear me?
Yes, you go and then you break. You go and break.
Hey, did you hear my question?
Yes, it did affect me big time. Big time in which way? There was a lockdown that was introduced. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly, yeah.
No? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mandla.
Yes. So during the introduction of lockdown, obviously, that's when now your creativity comes into place as a coach. One, it will be more digital. Digital in terms of acquiring knowledge from the experts of the game. So you find that there are some courses that are being run digitally. So obviously, get to be involved in those courses, and then after that, in your players, and then the WhatsApp does work as well. I've realized that WhatsApp does work in terms of engaging your players as they are in lockdown situation environment, which exercise to do whilst they're at home. So you keep on monitoring in that way. And then those ones, there are areas that, okay, fine, digitally, we've got the yoga, and you adventure and then check what is it that can help you enhancing and keeping these boys, like being actively involved in this type of a situation. So you stay communicating with them, stay monitoring, stay asking them questions. How was your day today? How did you spend your day? We must be able to relate to you. And then where he starts, that's when you're going to realize that, hey man, here there was no activity whatsoever. That's when you advise as well. your advice to that particular individual. And I must say, this COVID-19, it had its own positives and negatives. Positive in which way? That we need to be more creative, working on television, identifying on television whenever there are games. There are games. So you work on that. You concentrate on all those games. And then whatever you can pick up, you just rewind and work on it and say, hey, I've seen this. And then you start discussing with your colleagues, fellow colleagues, and say, hey, just watch that. That's what you share the information. And then that alone helps you and your colleagues as well to move forward under the circumstances. So even when I was in PE, I was checking the boys there under 17s, and then they were performing well after this long break. But you can see that they've missed so much. They've missed so much because now there it's a competition highest level whereby it needs them. It requires them to compete at the highest level because it's a qualifying. It's a qualifying to a qualifier to AFCON. So that one was a zonal, a zonal, working their way up for AFCON. So the demands were too much. So that is why they stayed in a bio bubble. They were isolated before the tournament starts. Even myself, I went for my tests, COVID tests and what have you, so that I'm being allowed to be on the field of play. So hence I'm saying this COVID made us to be more aware and more appreciative of our lives. We're coming back to appreciate our lives as individuals and for the next person as well, because you need to protect yourself and the next person. So that alone, I take it as a positive approach. So now it becomes unfortunate once we don't comply according to the requirements of this COVID-19 pandemic. So it's important that we comply, even if we're going to the training sessions, since we're in level 1 now. We don't have to take these boys, with the intensive and aggressive work after this long break. And now it's a festive season right now. And they were busy with their exams at the same time. So it was more challenging. So there were so many challenges that they needed to stay focused in their books whilst they keep themselves active, whilst in isolation, back in their homes, backyards, and then at the same time pushing their books so that come end of the year, they are passing their exams. And at the same time, it's festive season. They must know how to conduct themselves under the circumstances. So hence I'm saying this year, 2020, had its own strong challenges. So it needed us to work together and comply. Look, listen, and decide. We are to comply with the requirements of this COVID-19. So now, whenever we're preparing for our assessment, the boys that we identified before the pandemic, Corona, so those boys, we need to invite them. And then before they come, obviously they must do their tests. It's the first requirement. Because now we will be dealing with the boys that you don't know the background, if ever medically, can you train him, or he suffers health-wise. health-wise. It might be the heart problem. And then you start now pushing him at the training session. So you start moderate approach, so that you are able to detect as well the individuals that you are dealing with. And then with the breaks in between, have them to have their fluids, and then they mustn't change the bottles. You need to be very strict and be observant so that they comply as well.
Well, thank you so much, Mandla. Thank you very much for today. I think we definitely need you back again. Definitely need you back for another chat next year. But thank you so much for today. It has been very enlightening. And for all the coaches out there, what we are going to do is we are having a break for now. We'll be back around about the second week of January. Our first seminar, I think, or webinar will actually be about talking about how to, so you're getting kids from all different backgrounds, how to assimilate them into a school, how to treat the kids. Amanda's mentioned it, Sia mentioned it in the previous webinar, how a lot of kids come from different backgrounds and they struggle to fit in the school. So we are going to have a discussion about that. We're going to have different players that will come through. It's not only beneficial for coaches, but it's beneficial for the whole school. So when we do send out the invite, please forward it on to other mates at your school, other schools that you know about, because I do believe that it will help in helping these kids when they come to your school fit in and feel more comfortable when they come to the school. And you won't have the same dropout from some of these kids that you pick up and you bring through. Lots of different people like Sundowns have already discussed how they've changed their program a little bit to actually have like centers of excellence around the country to help these kids out instead of just bringing them all up to Pretoria and getting them out of their comfort zone. So that's one of the things we're going to discuss. At the end of February, there is going to be a seminar. We're going to be doing it at Pinnacle College. It'll be a 2-day seminar. Once again, we will send out invites for that closer to the time. We'll send out a list of the speakers. There will be a lot of speakers on that day. It'll be focused on mainly football, but there will be a part of it that has to do with other kind of sports, and then it'll be nutrition, the business of sport, how to organize events. There'll be a lot actually in those seminars. So the dates actually for that seminar are the 26th and 27th of February, but we'll send out more information on it. And yes, through the December and January period, Cassie and I will be going out and looking for a lot more speakers and a lot of different kinds of speakers to carry on growing with our program that we're busy with. So thank you very much, Mandla. Thank you very much, Coach.
Sorry, Sean, before you close, man.
Yeah.
There were no questions from the coaches. I've been talking a lot, man. Eh?
No questions at the moment, but I think there will be a lot more questions next year. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So which means it was clear.
It was very clear. Thanks. Thank you.
Very clear. Very good, Mandla. Very good.
Thank you very much. And then thank you guys for inviting me. And then keep doing a great job like you normally do. And then you can see that this is a normal practice. Whenever I look at you, Sean, whenever I look at you, Casey, because I've been meeting you, I've been bouncing on you, any tournaments. So it shows that you are committed as well. And you even went to such an extent that you start this type of a program that will enhance the ability of the coaches. So I really appreciate this platform. And again, it helps even the coaches that cannot afford. So keep up the good work, guys. And you must enjoy the rest of the season. And then good luck and best of luck for the next season.
Thank you so much, Mandla, and you too. And we'll definitely be in contact with you before the end of this year.